Welcome to the Runna Podcast. I'm Coach Anya, an international marathon runner.
And I'm Coach Ben, and one of the co-founders of Runna.
Each week we'll be deep diving into the world of running, speaking to some inspiring individuals about their running journeys.
Runna is the #1 rated running coaching service worldwide. We help hundreds of thousands of people all over the world train for any running goal. And if you want to try out Runna for free, you can try it out using the code Runna Podcast, all one word, to get 2 weeks of free access to the Runna app.
Today on the podcast, we have the inspirational Susie Chan, who talks to us about her journey from a pretty unhealthy lifestyle to finding running and going on to run ultra marathons and setting world records along the way. She's ran through cancer diagnoses, done multiple marathon to Sables and set records. So I can't wait for you to listen to this episode. Hi Susie, welcome to the Runna Podcast. I feel like we don't even need to interview you. I'd happily listen to your story for the next 45 minutes. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm good, yeah, doing well. I've just come back from helping out at a race which I have run and also crewed at. So feeling a little bit jet lagged, but very happy to see it from another side.
I know about that race and I'm sure we'll get on to
Yes.
it. But shall we start at the beginning of your running journey or your sporting journey? Can you tell us how you got into fitness, running?
So I was very unfit. Let me start at school. Let me go all the way back to when I was a child. I was probably, I'm going to say, bang average at PE, so much so that I don't think my PE teachers would even remember me. Enjoyed netball. They used to put me on the running teams just for sports day, but I was pretty average. So that was the end of my sporting career. So fast forward till I was about 35. I was a mum of one, and I had partied very hard in the 90s, and it was now about early 2000s. And I was a little bit sad and a little bit unfit, very unfit. I used to smoke. I used to just drink wine in front of the TV. Didn't have much going on in my life, and it was just a bit of a moment for me. I just decided that I wanted to be a little bit of a better example for my daughter, and started to do a little bit of local fitness. So I started at my local, there was like a little boot camp thing, which was absolutely horrendous. I loved it though. And then my younger brother, it was all around about the same time, my younger brother was running a marathon, and he said to me, come and run a half marathon with me. Genuine story, didn't know how far it was. And I agreed because it was very near my house and I thought it might help to have a goal. So I signed up for my local half marathon and then just started running up and down the road with no watch, gym shoes on, not a sports bra properly. I just didn't know what I was doing, and I just started running and found myself at the start of this half marathon in Farnham. It was called Farnham Pilgrim's Half, and I was stood there absolutely terrified. I think a lot of people have been in that first race scenario, absolutely terrified, looking around at everybody else who looked like they knew what they were doing. And then somebody leant over and said, oh, do you like trail running? And I was like, what's trail running? And this whole half marathon was on the trails. I didn't even have proper pair of trainers on, and I had an underwire bra on, and I started running, and it was really, really difficult. But I can remember there was a moment at about mile 9 where I thought, I think I'm going to finish, and I was just elated, and I finished the half marathon. It really just sort of lit the torch paper for me and my running journey, and I don't think anything's quite matched that first race feeling. I just couldn't believe I'd run that far. And that was a point, really. That was a real pivotal moment for me. So from there, I went on, signed up to other races, joined a running club, started running quite a long way. And very, very quickly, I fell into the world of ultra running.
So that elation you got in that first half, you've now just been making the races longer and longer and longer,
Basically,
trying to get that
I've
same
been
feeling.
Chasing that high ever since that day. I think it was 2010. It's such a feeling that you have, and it has basically pushed me further and further, and in a good way, because I genuinely didn't think I could run 13 miles when I started that race. And ever since that moment, I've had a bit of a mindset switch. It happened quite quickly over the course of the first 2 years, where I now stand on the start line and I'm like, this is what's happening today, rather than doubting myself. And it's been very empowering.
Wow. And I guess then you went from there to train for your first marathon, which was in Paris?
I did Paris Marathon 2011, I'm going to say. I can't quite remember the dates.
So you didn't join your brother for that marathon he was training for?
So he did Athens Marathon, because he said if I'm going to do a marathon, I want it to be like the iconic one. And
doing that, yeah.
yeah, it looks great. It looks really great.
It's uphill the whole way.
Apparently so. He told me in great detail, but it finishes in like the Olympiad Stadium.
Yeah, I think it's quite iconic. Maybe
epic.
At least the first half is uphill, and then you never go downhill. Okay. So you finish higher than you start. So it's not one for a good time.
Not one for good. I don't mind.
Very hot as well.
Yes, I didn't mind that. So no, he didn't really continue running after that first marathon. So he does occasionally. I'll talk him into doing like a 10K or something with me. But no, we sort of went separate ways.
Has the sibling rivalry meant that you're now enjoying being the faster, the stronger runner of the family?
No, we weren't ever rivals. Okay. Actually, we weren't ever rivals. It's quite an enabling space that we've created, which is good.
Good. And so you then decided the year after this half to do the Paris Marathon?
Yes, I then thought, I can run. So I did a 10K. Thought I can run that, no problem. Did another half marathon. I think, I can't quite remember. And then signed up for a marathon, because that's where you think it ends up. Signed up for my very first marathon, Paris Marathon. It's probably one of the handful of races I've really trained properly, like really followed a proper structured plan, went out and stuck to it. And I can remember, don't laugh, Anya, I can remember trying to chase sub 4 hours, thinking this is like this, because this in your
that's quicker than my first marathon.
I was like, and I was like, right, I'm going to get sub 4. And I trained, and I was like bang on it all the way through training. And then, of course, race day comes. Like, my stress levels were through the roof. I fell over on the cobbles at some point. And I can remember being I remember thinking, just get past the Eiffel Tower, because the finish is sort of near there. And the Eiffel Tower never really getting any closer at all. And then at some point, the 4-hour pacer just passing me like, I was clinging on for dear life, and then he just passed me. And I think I did just over 4 hours. And my first thought was like, oh no, because I knew I'd have to do it again to try and get under 4, because I can't remember what it was, 4:07, something like that. But I was so instantly annoyed that I hadn't.
So you didn't get the same feeling of elation that you had in the end of your first marathon?
I think I was subsequently, like, it's quite a mixed. Somebody once described this, your first marathon, to me, and I've never forgotten it, because it's so true, as being the best and worst day of your life. Yeah. Because everything hurts, you're in agony, but it's brilliant. So I was elated. A couple of hours later, and in the evening, and on a few days afterwards. But I just knew. My first thought was like, I'm going to have to do this again.
I think it's because it's always hard. Your first is always harder than you think it's going to be. Like, I think people always just be like, oh, well, I'll just double my half marathon time, and it will be like a little bit harder than that. But I'd say it's like four times harder. It's like so much harder. And I guess like expectations of milestone times mean that then we attach happiness to that, and that will then affect how we feel.
I don't think I think I got up to 18 miles, 19 miles in training, and that was actually terrifying, because I thought, I don't know how I'm going to run another, 6-7 miles. I think I was just like, that's impossible. I felt like I'd been run over at 18 miles. But something happens on race day. You get lifted by the situation, by the crowd, by everything around you. But I just didn't get elevated. I didn't fuel properly. I didn't know anything about running. I literally knew nothing about running. I just went out and thought I could just run on like literally 2 jelly beans and no water or something. I went on to learn.
Yeah, and I guess you said that kind of like doing the marathon was the kind of the destination. Like, everyone wants to go and do a marathon.
I thought that's where running ended.
You didn't stop there?
No. Well, I genuinely didn't realise that there was anything beyond that. And I was reading Runner's World, because I was a runner by this point, Runner's World, and there was an article in it. Somebody had completed something called the Marathon des Sables, and I had no idea these things existed. So the Marathon des Sables, just to explain, it's a 6-day multi-stage race that takes place in the Sahara Desert. So you run point to point each day. Distances vary from, it changes each year, but it's just as a typical year would be 15 miles to 45, 50 miles. So it varies per day. Yeah. So you're running point to point, and you're sleeping in the desert. But the toughest bit is you have to carry everything you need to survive for the week on your back. So your sleeping gear or your survival stuff, and most importantly, all of your food, which weighs the most. And I read about this race in the magazine, and the pictures looked like they were just like, it was like beautiful skies, beautiful sand dunes. Everybody looked very happy, and thought, oh my goodness, I can't believe that this is this is even a thing. And I can't quite explain where it hit me internally, but there was something inside me that thought, oh my gosh, I'd love to see that, or to see what it's like. And we're going back, so like Instagram had just been invented. So social media isn't quite what it is now back then. This is maybe 2011, 2012. So I think Instagram's like 1 year old. So there wasn't a huge amount of information out there about it. I did a sort of bit of a Google, and I found 2 women that had run it and messaged one of them, like, do you think I could do this? And just to find out more about the race, there was this huge waiting list. I signed up to the waiting list thinking I'll get an email or something about it. And then about 2 weeks later, and I can remember where I was on a train commuting to my job just outside of Waterloo, and I found out that most people on the waiting list got in, and I literally had a meltdown, like, oh my God. Wow. And then I was in this sort of turmoil of, I didn't really think I could do the race, to like, if this opportunity presents itself, what would I do? And started running more and more, just in case I got into the race, which of course I did.
Wow.
But the fact that you even wanted to do it, because that's how your brain is wired differently. I do not want to do it. Like, all I've heard is, unfortunately, people have like literally died doing it.
Your feet are wrecked, yeah. I genuinely, true story, I have probably embarked on a lot of things that I've done without really knowing a lot about them. So I
did you cut off the end of your toothbrush and things? That's what
I did all that.
Just to make your like bag lighter.
So yeah, so
they do.
You're running through the desert. So I think for women or for smaller people, it's genuinely harder because you have to carry. Yeah. Everybody has to carry the same minimum requirements of things. So there's a minimum requirement of calories. You have to have a sleeping bag and all these bits and pieces. And for somebody that's a little bit, I'm not very tall. I'm quite short. Somebody that's smaller, it's harder than, say, a great big guy to carry that kit through the Sahara Desert. So weight for me was an optimum, and I went on to do the race, and I've done it subsequently 4 more times. And by the last time I did it, my pack was the actual legal minimum weight. Wow. And I had nothing with me. I was absolutely starving to death, and like I don't even know if I bought a toothbrush that last time. It's gross. So, it's really gross.
So I guess, like you said, the thing that kind of inspired you to sign up was seeing the views, seeing what it looked like, seeing how beautiful it was. Well, or was it also the sheer challenge and proving what you're capable of?
I think so. It's really hard to pinpoint my mindset at the time, because I was just in awe of runners and running itself, and I was just constantly trying to live life through my running. And it just, I wouldn't say it happened by accident, but I genuinely didn't think that I would end up doing it so soon after finding out about the race. The opportunity just said, like, you've got a place. And then I had to make a split second decision, like, do I do this thing, or do I just carry on? And it was just the carrot was sort of dangled, and I just thought, what's the worst that could happen?
And obviously you're doing it, and it obviously the worst didn't happen, and you got to the end, and you've gone on to do it several times since. Like, what was it about the race? How did you feel going through it that meant that you wanted to sign up again?
I was so terrified in the lead up to that race. I didn't really know anybody. I went there by myself, which is something which is unthinkable now. Anytime I do a race or event, I talk as many people as possible into coming to do it with me, so I'm not alone. So I was going through a very rough time personally, and I mentioned this in my book, and it was just something I needed to do for me. And I needed to sort of reclaim my life and take control of my life. So I think probably without really realising at the time, I was just doing something which was just so out of character for me. For anybody that knew me in my 20s and 30s, so very out of character. I was just sort of drawing a line under an old part of me and starting a new one. And I was so terrified of that race in the entire lead up. Every time I did a training run, anytime I did anything, I was just like, I don't know if I can do it. But then something happened. I flew out to the desert, and I was stood there on the start line, and it was like all the pictures I'd Googled. And there was just a real moment of calm within me. And I just thought, I'm meant to be here. And I know I'm going to get through this. And that was it. I spent the whole race from that moment just trying to soak up and being happy. I'm not going to lie, really did hurt. I mean, I was so hungry and my feet were bleeding. But it was such a life-affirming thing to happen. And then I was stood there in this desert, and completely different to when I stood in that start line for that half marathon. I was looking around at the mixture of people that were there, and it was a real broad demographic, and people of all ages and just all different backgrounds just all stood there in this desert.
Like a full circle moment.
Yeah, and I thought, I can be one of these people. I can do this.
And I guess you mentioned that before the half marathon, you weren't the healthiest. You mentioned that you smoked and a few other things.
Very unhealthy.
How long did it take you to stop smoking and to change some of those habits?
I stopped smoking after Paris Marathon. Okay. And I didn't get the time I wanted. I thought maybe it's time to stop smoking, you unhealthy thing. Yeah, that's really bad, isn't it? Yeah. And then I'll have a glass of wine now and again because, it's my one vice I have left.
Do you have any advice for anyone wanting to like change up their lifestyle and embark on running?
So the thing about running is, and you probably hear this a lot as runners yourself, but people will say to me, "Oh, I'm not a runner," and then they go, "But I did park run," or you're moving, aren't you? You're not sitting down. You're out there moving, whether it's run, walking, whatever. You're moving. And for me, out of all the things I've done in my life through running, which I've done a lot, is the hardest thing I think I did was to keep running at the very beginning, because it was. Soul destroying is probably a bit strong, but the first time I tried to run a mile, I just thought I was going to die. I just thought I was having a heart attack. I couldn't do it. I had to keep stopping and I didn't know what I was doing. And it's really, really hard to get up and go, right, I'm going to do that again on Wednesday. I'm going to do that again on Saturday. And just to have a little bit of consistency. I think I was running maybe 2 to 3 times a week. I don't know, not very far, sort of compared to what I do now. But it was really difficult. It was really, really difficult. I was doing it by myself. I was doing it, when if it was raining, and I was like, I've got to run this half marathon. I'm going to keep running, and to stay motivated and in it was tough. But then the beauty about running is, and I think I've thought about this a lot, is as I look back over all the running I've done, I'm going to say majority of it is pretty standard when you go and do a run. Quite a few of them suck. They're hard. They're difficult for whatever reason. It's tougher, and then only a really small amount of them are brilliant. And it's that really small amount that keeps you going. So if you are consistent about your running, you will realise that you're just getting fitter if you reflect. So you have to always remind yourself of how far you've come, because it's so easy just to keep going and looking at everybody else and thinking, I'm not as fast, I'm not running as far, I'm not doing as many races.
And keep turning up and you'll get those brilliant ones in between.
You will, and that's what keeps you going. Now and again you just feel like you're flying and it's just brilliant. And that's what keeps you going.
Well, I mean, I know the feeling. Some runs you just get out the door and you feel like you're having the funnest time.
Yeah, you're having the best time.
And then also, so much of the time it is just hard work. Even when you love running, I think to someone right at the beginning of their journey,
it's tough.
When they don't go on their first run and find it easy and fantastic, they probably find it, how on earth are they going to convert their life to this?
Yeah,
this
and you
routine?
might be like 3, 4, 6 weeks into it, and then one day you'll get out and you run and be like, oh my God, I ran that. That didn't feel too bad. No. So it is quite tough. But my advice would be to people that just give it a go, and it's okay if it doesn't feel good, because it's probably not going to all the time. But you must remember how far you come. I say to a lot of people, like, nobody's born running a mile. No one. Everybody's had to get there somehow. Yeah. And so you're part of a group of people who are all just trying to do the same thing, and let's get moving.
Wow.
So talk about you reflecting on your journey. You've obviously written a book recently, which is Trails and Tribulations, which is amazing. And you go quite deep into that book, and you're really vulnerable, and it's amazing what you've done. But am I able to talk to you about how you carried on running through so many roadblocks in your life?
Yes.
And I think, if you don't mind me saying, you were diagnosed with cancer, and you've got through it with the help of running almost.
Running became part of me, and it's very hard to explain it. I think if you are a runner, I've called it's a bit like finding my religion. It's more than just a hobby now. It's not something I just go and do on a Saturday morning just to sort of, just as something which I feel like I should be doing. It's like part of who I am. I will run in most of my days because it's something I do. Sometimes I'll literally just take my dog out for 2 miles and start. Sometimes I'll go and I'll run 30 miles with my friends. So running has become like part of my entire personality.
No.
You're preaching to the choir here.
It's like it's sort of like who I am. And there's been since I came back from that Sahara Desert, it really did. The thing which kept me going back was it really was very life affirming. More, I don't remember the running in that in that race. It's more like how I felt and who I was with and all of that stuff. It was like that was the thing that you remember. And ever since then, it just became really ingrained in me that's the sort of thing I do. And so it has been the cornerstone to keeping me grounded, I'm going to say. And so through anything that happens in life, that has happened subsequently, just go out for a run. You feel better, don't you? You feel better, and that's always been the thing I've come back to. Even with the runs which suck and the ones which are in the pouring rain, you come back in and you feel, I'm really glad. You don't think, what a load of rubbish. You always come back in and think, I'm glad I did that.
Yeah.
And so when I did have cancer, it was the thing which guided me through. It was like my sort of meditation. It was sort of the antithesis of what was happening to me at that time. And also in a way, and I realised this with hindsight, not in the moment, it was a thing that I felt like I really needed to do to prove that actually I was okay. Because I went on, I finished my cancer treatment, and within 2 weeks, I didn't ask my oncologist, I just went and did Vitality Big Half, and I was with my friend, and I was like, I'm just going to run this, and if I have to stop, I have to stop. I mean, I still had, my wounds hadn't even healed. And I thought, I'll just start, do like 5K. And then I got halfway and I thought, well, let's get to 9. Then I obviously got to the end, and there's a picture of me like punching the sky as I'm about to finish. And I was sort of very cautious. I was running very slowly. And then I went on to do a 100-mile, a marathon des Sables about 6 weeks later. Wow. And then 100-miler about 4 weeks after that. And then I thought maybe I should have a little rest now. I think I was trying to prove to myself that I was still fit.
So you won.
And I could still do the things that I wanted to do. Even though I was quite nervous about both of them. I thought, if you don't feel well, just stop. But
it's amazing. It seems like, you do just run to really prove to yourself that you can do hard things.
Yeah, it's not necessarily proof. It's more maybe peace, I'm going to say. I'm not really, especially now as I've got older and considerably slower. It's more of just a space which I have, which is mine, and it's now become, as I said, my personality. It's also my space where I meet my friends. Like I used to go and let's go out drinking. Now I'm like, do you want to meet at 7:30 for like a half marathon with my friends? This is the sort of the life which I now have, and it's just very much a happy place for me.
Hey guys, just a little note from us. Anya and I are so excited that we managed to hit the #1 spot in the UK in the running podcast charts. So as a little bit of a thank you to all of our loyal podcast listeners, we managed to organise 15% off all of our Runner merchandise. So head to the Runner website, and if you use the code, all one word, all caps lock, MyFastSocks, you'll get 15% off any of our items on the store. So thank you for listening, and go and enjoy, go and get your hands on some Runner merchandise.
One last race I'd love to quickly touch on is the Badwater Ultra Cup. So can you tell us what that race is?
So Badwater. So I think I came back from the desert, and then I started finding out more about ultra marathons. And when I started doing them back in the early 2010s, I'm going to say I think there were about maybe 17, 18 of them in the UK. That's hundreds now, absolutely hundreds. Like, it's great. Absolutely love how much ultra running has grown, because the thing about ultra running is it is really accessible. And Anya, genuinely, have you done one yet?
One of my first ever races was an ultra.
Okay, yes, of course she has.
I would.
But you don't just have to run them as fast as you. So the thing about ultras, they are really, really more accessible than you think. On paper, they look quite terrifying. But if you take my approach, which is just take your time, and, if you want to have a cup of tea, literally stop and have a cup of tea and carry on moving. So yeah, it's just so I found out about ultra marathons quite quickly after the Marathon des Sables, and then I read about this race called Badwater 135, and it seemed ridiculous on paper, but for me, I'm really drawn to deserts. I love running in hot places, and I just decided that was the one I really wanted to do. And it was actually quite not a lot was known about it. Not a lot was known about how you get in. The entry process is you get selected for the race. So only 100 people globally get selected to run this race, and did a bit of homework, found a couple of people that had actually run it in the UK and asked them lots of questions, and then started on what turned out to be a 12, 13-year journey to get to that start line. So it's 135 miles non-stop, in America. So you start off at somewhere called Badwater Basin, which is 285 foot below sea level. It's the lowest point in Northern America. And you run across 3 mountain ranges, running through the hottest place on earth, a place called Death Valley, at the hottest time of the year, which is July, and finish on a mountain called Mount Whitney, which is the highest point in contiguous USA. So you run from the lowest point to the highest point without stopping. And it's extraordinarily difficult. And I didn't realise how tough that race was. I always said I wanted to run it. And one of the ways you can get into the race, or that helps you when you have to sort of present your CV and apply, is if you have done something called crude, which is help the runner get to the finish line. So there's timing stations, but there's nothing out there. And there's literally nothing. You have to keep a runner alive. The average survival time in Death Valley for a human being is 14 hours. So you've got 48 hours to get through. So you really have to know your stuff to be able to do that race. And one of the reasons that they would like you to have crewed is because it is so very difficult. So I went. It's hard to even get on a crew because so many people want to do this race. Somebody I did the Marathon des Sables with got in the race and invited me to be on their crew because they knew it was like a dream of mine. And I flew out and went through 2 nights on no sleep in the Death Valley. And I was hallucinating, and I was trying to crew them. And I wrote a note to all my friends, a little WhatsApp group, in capital letters on the second night saying, never, ever, ever let me enter this race, because it was terrifying. And I came back and thought, that's off the chart. Of all the things I've seen in my life in running, it was off the charts. It makes a 100-miler look like a picnic. And so I was like, forget it. And then I went back and got asked to crew again because somebody knew I'd crewed again. Same thing happened. Forget it. I can't. That is just, it's terrifying. And then back to crew for a 3rd time because a friend of mine was running it, and she's extraordinary. Her name's Debbie Consani, and she's course records. Almost all the ultra marathons are on UK. She's an extraordinary woman, tenacious, unbelievable, super strong. You need to chat to her. And she started throwing up from mile 30, and she threw up for 100 miles. And I've never seen anybody move like that on no calories. And then at some point, about 15 miles to go, she just looked me square in the eye and said, you know you're going to do this race. I was like, oh God. And I did. I knew. I just knew. She was like, you know.
And when you did it the year after?
Yeah. Well, I put my application in, and I built up my CV by then. I'd run through quite a lot of hot spaces and qualified with all the 100 milers I needed to do.
40% of people don't even finish that race. Is that right?
I think this year, it was about that. Yeah, it was pretty tough. It's very, very hard to articulate unless you go there, what it's like to stand in Death Valley.
Let alone running it.
I mean, yeah, it was, what was it this year? It was 53 degrees in the shade. So one year I was there and they had a thermometer and they were measuring the ambient air temperature. And it was just so what was bouncing off the concrete and what was in the air, and it was 76 degrees Celsius. People's legs were just blistering. It was just...
So you said to your friendship group not to let you do it?
Never, ever let me.
Are you annoyed at them for letting you do it?
Not at all, no. Because what happened is, as they just sort of roll their eyes, I think, with me. I think everybody knew I was going to end up on that start line. And I honestly, I gave it everything that race, and I was pretty bang average in it compared to some of the people that did it.
And so you've been back to the Marathon des Sables a few times. Would you ever do that again, or is that one and
Marathon des Sables?
No,
Badwater. I said never ever again, but I've literally just come back from there, and maybe the thing is you really need a reason to be stood there suffering like you suffer in that race, because it really is. Debbie said it was one of the hardest things she's ever done. There's a guy called James Elson who's in charge of the Centurion races. He does all the 100 miles, 50 miles here. He said it's the most he's ever suffered in a race. Like these are people that have done Tour de France, though. These are people like that are really, really hardcore. So it is a suffer fest. I came away and I was like, I don't know, maybe. But I'd need a reason. And my first reason was because I really wanted to do it, to finish. And now I've finished, I don't know whether I could imagine being like 120 miles in, like, do I?
You don't need to do it today, but you might want to one day.
Possibly. Never say never. I mean, there's something, it's a very special you feel very special just even standing at that start line.
It feels very special just hearing about it. I guess my last serious question before we come on to our slightly sillier half of the conversation. You've done so many amazing achievements, one of which is a 12-hour world record on the treadmill.
I forgot about this one.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yes, I have, yes.
So why did you choose to do that, and tell us about it?
So that came about by accident. Once again, my friend of mine, who actually was my crew chief in Badwater, he's an ultra marathon himself, quite an accomplished. He's done quite a lot of different races. He is my sports scientist friend. So when I go into hot spaces, I do some heat acclimatization, and he has a heat chamber. So I'll go there and I'll run in his miserable little heat chamber. I hate it.
On the treadmill.
On the treadmill, and it's a space where they can really control the environment to get your body used to being in these difficult environments. So I'll be in and out that heat chamber for various races, and he became friends over the course of the years. And he was doing his PhD, which he's now finished. He's now a doctor of ultra running, in ultra running, and in order to help with his research, he had to conduct a series of experiments, or tests, just to test people and how their body reacts when they're running long distances. And because of weather and all these sorts of things, the safest and the most measured way he could do this was on a treadmill in a lab, where they just monitor every single thing you're drinking, eating. We're doing blood tests, how we're feeling. So he needed people to come and run 50 miles on a treadmill, and there weren't that many people that wanted to do it. And I was like, yeah, sure. There were hardly any. I think only like 3 women did it in the end. And I was like, yeah, sure, I'll come and run on your treadmill for 50 miles. And I was right in the middle of Ironman training at the time, so I was like a lot fitter than I realised. And I went and I ran 50 miles, and then I was like, right, see you later. And then I went home. And then I think I did like a tweet about it back when Twitter was a thing. Did a tweet like, I just did 50 miles. Peace out. And then somebody on Twitter said, you do realise if you'd run for another 5 miles or something, you'd have broken the treadmill world record. And I was like, there's a treadmill world record? And it's broken down into time. So you can do it for 12, 24, whatever, week, day, whatever. And it was tantalisingly easy for me to get that.
So you just went out and did it?
Well, it was a lot harder than that. It was...
Because also that 50 miles was in the heat, or not?
You
were measuring everything in normal conditions.
We were just in a normal space.
So how far did you go in the 12 hours?
So I went 60. It was really annoying. I went just under 69 miles, which was really annoying because I wanted to get through 70. But in order to set it up, we were like, let's just do that. And he goes, no, you can't. You have to get Guinness now. And they sent a 26-page dossier on all of the rules and things we had to do to get this put in place. So it took a few months to put it in place. Meanwhile, I'd done my Ironman and I'd sort of come off the training, so I wasn't as fit. And I didn't really think about it too much. So I probably should have done it in that moment, but I wouldn't have been able to. It wouldn't have been a record because I had to prove it to Guinness. So.
And do you still hold the record?
No, God, no. As soon as somebody, I think I didn't have it very long because it was.
As soon as you did it, you almost raised the attention.
Well, there were a lot of women out there that were like, I can run faster than her, and there are a lot of women that can run faster than me. So I had it for a little while. I forgot to put the application in to be in the book, which annoyed a couple of my friends. But I did have it for a hot minute there.
And so are you on the treadmill non-stop for 12 hours? Or are you jumping off, eating, drinking, going to the toilet?
No, I was eating on the treadmill. Going to the toilet was a little bit harder because I won't go into the details.
I'm just imagining that you might be firing some liquids a little further back in the gym, right?
No, but you had to sort of, because everything counted, you had to sort of, it was huge. This treadmill was an enormous, it wasn't like a normal treadmill.
Okay.
It was a huge scientific treadmill. And I had to slow it right down to full stop before I could get off, because you couldn't just hop off and hop off like you practically would to the gym.
Because then it would track a few extra.
Because it would track extra bits and pieces. So I had to be really thoughtful about when I did need a wee.
Wow. Well, hopefully that does very much set your character for anyone listening at home. Shall we dive into Steph's tip of the week?
My top tip today is practicing your race day nutrition. Don't leave it to race day, and definitely don't try anything new. Fueling is so individual, so it might take lots of practice before you find the right brands, the right products that really work for you. Start off by using your long runs. Experiment with energy gels, bars, chews, gummy sweets, malt loaf, dried fruit. The options are endless. First of all, start with fueling every kind of 30 to 40 minutes using whatever fuel of choice, and kind of make note of how that is feeling with each run. You might need to try a few options before you find what's right for you. Thanks so much for that, Steph. We have a quick myth debunking sent in from a user. So I'll read that out and Coach Ben can give his advice on that. And if you have anything else to add, Susie, that would be great. Sometimes things get in the way of my training plan for my marathon and I'm stressed because I have to miss some sessions. I'm worried it's going to be a massive problem and have impact on my time and race. How many sessions can I miss before it becomes a problem?
Yeah, great question. I think to speak for your enjoyment of running, I think the most important thing anyone can do in their journey up to the marathon or any running goal is to make sure they're doing it in a way that they enjoy the journey. Because no matter how important your marathon goal is and your training plan, the last thing you want to do is have 4 months of misery, run a marathon and never run again. So I think the most important thing is to make sure that you're finding balance. It means that you can achieve the goal, but at the same time get there in a way that you love running and you love that journey. With that in mind, there's going to be lots of different sessions that you want to be completing. And at the end of the day, if you're doing training maybe 3 or 4 times a week, there's the option that people can train for marathon running twice a week. So with that in mind, in theory, you can miss quite a lot of sessions. Obviously, if we're really looking to push ourselves for a big PB or whatever it's going to be, we might want to be a little bit more diligent to our training. I think it's all about recognizing what are the most important sessions. If it's for someone training for their first marathon, we really want to make sure we can build up that endurance. So we do want to make sure we're building up our long run distance to be able to complete around about 20 miles or around about kind of 32 or thereabout kilometers. And at the same time, we also don't want to jump up our long run distances from 20k to 30k in one go, otherwise our body's not going to have time to adapt to that. So I'd really say building up those kind of long run sessions are the ones that you really don't want to avoid. And then kind of with all of our training, we want to get a balance of it. We don't want to miss all of our speed sessions and only do the easy running and the long running, otherwise we're not going to get stronger. So it's really a question of getting balance, making sure we're trying to be consistent, but at the end of the day, the most important thing is that we're doing it in a way that makes us happy. So that's my advice. What about anything you'd add to that?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head with it. The endurance ones, the long ones are the ones you really want to focus on. I would say a couple of things. I mean, completely what you said. A couple of things. The truth about marathons are they are really tough. And there will be a moment where it will be, especially your first marathon, where you will have a moment of, why am I doing this? This was a choice. So those sessions which do feel a little bit tougher, there will be a really good moment for you to just embrace how tough it is. And I know it's miserable and some days you won't want to do it, but that is part of the journey. And my own personal experience is when you have toughed something out, even if you've really not wanted to do it, that's where you get the most satisfaction. So just try and remember that on days where you think, I don't want to do this today. And even if you can't do the full session, if you can even just get out for 20 minutes, whatever it is, try and do a little bit. So to keep that consistency up. So for me, it's a lot easier if I'm Monday's run day, Wednesday's run day, Sunday's run day. So to try and keep that consistency going. But don't be too hard on yourself if you have to miss a session because life gets in the way. These things happen. So your core thing will be those endurance runs. And also, if you don't feel like running, just switch it out something else, maybe have a little swim and maybe get on a bike, do something else, because your heart doesn't know, if you're doing cardio, it doesn't know what you're actually doing. All it knows is that you're working. So if you are getting a bit of the run fatigue, which will happen in a marathon training cycle, maybe just pop a little swim in there, but don't be downhearted. And also a little bit, you're going to have to suck it up a little bit because it is a little bit tough and it will be tough on the day. And when you're in those miles, 16, 18, whatever miles it is on marathon day, remember, I did those really hard sessions and I got through them, so it'll help motivate you.
Absolutely, and I guess it's almost about building that mental resilience. If you can get out the door on a miserable raining day when you're not feeling motivated, that's the same mental resilience. It's going to mean that you don't quit at 21 miles.
Yeah, that's exactly. So those sessions, I always think, even the ones where I haven't done the mileage or hit the paces, still got it done. And rather than think about it like, I didn't do that thing, think, do you know what? Despite that, went out, got running.
Absolutely. Right, well, moving on to slightly sillier questions.
Brilliant.
So we're going to play a game of this or that.
Okay.
So you're going to pick one of two options.
Alrighty.
They probably both won't be delightful, so you're going to have to
hope
pick
the
one.
intrusive thoughts don't win here.
So, would you rather never ever be able to run by the sea again, or never ever be able to run with Manny Dog?
You have deep dived into that I felt that. I physically felt that. Oh, no. I think Manny, I can walk him. I think I'd have to run by the sea. Oh no, I don't know now. Okay, let's go. See, sorry, Manny, I love you. I can walk him.
Fair enough. Well, we normally ask you this as well, but I guess you don't have a dog, so it's a little easier, right?
Well, my parents have 2 dogs. They're too old to run with me now, though.
Okay, so you don't get to run with them anymore.
Yeah.
So you're running by the sea then, are you?
Yeah.
Okay. Right, okay, so next up, would you rather run in sequined sports clothes for all of your runs forever, or you have to do all your running in a full-on tailored 2-piece suit?
Oh, sequins. I mean, if you're going to do it and be uncomfortable, you might as well look fabulous.
I feel like that would really chafe you.
It would. I have run in sequins before for my work, yes.
I've seen you in like sequin shoulder pads.
Some of the outfits. Just tough it out, yeah.
Fair enough. And yourself?
A suit.
Yeah.
A suit?
Yeah.
Not sequins? I mean, yeah, they have got sharp corners,
Yeah.
haven't
Yeah, I can make it a short suit, can't I?
they? Yeah, I'm a bit more handbag-like with my skin than you, Anya. I'm a bit leathery, so I think I can tough it out.
Okay, right, last one. Would you rather wear every medal that you've earned
I physically...
every day forever on all your runs, or have to throw them all away?
I'll throw them all away.
You throw them all away?
Yeah,
They don't mean as much.
no, they do, but they just weigh a lot. I mean, I literally, there's a lot. I don't think I could lift them up.
And you'd
so,
just take them to the recycling tomorrow?
yeah, I'll just chuck them in a bin.
You've got the memories.
Well, yeah, I mean, that does wound me slightly with saying it, because there are some which I would really love to hold dear, but I couldn't wear them all.
Do you keep your medals after every race, Ben?
Yeah, I've got them all hanging up in my shed. I've got all my race numbers.
I kept my race numbers, and I don't know why.
So I basically
in my
used
head, I'm like, I'm going to do something with these.
in my garage of my family home. My dad and I used to have all our race numbers. And we painted a wall, and when I kind of moved out, I took mine, and he separated from my mum, so he took his. And anyway, I then put them all on my shed wall, and now I've managed to do the 3 walls of my shed.
See, this is what
and
I
I've
had
got
in my head.
all my medals hanging up in there as well. But it's now almost like an inconvenience, because I'll finish a few races and just pile them up inside, and then I'll have to take a batch of blue tack and take them out to the shed every few weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, I was in Boston last week. I did 2 cycle races and a 5k.
Yeah.
So
you got 3.
Another trip to the shed is now needed.
What happens when you filled the room?
Well, I'll have to get a bigger shed.
Yeah. I kept exactly in my head. I was going to do a nice display on the wall, and then I just haven't. And they're just in a giant pile. But some of them, I quite like it, because some of them, the shorter ones, they're nice and uncrumpled and clean. And some of mine, which I've been for a week in a jungle,
they've got a bit of sick on them
horrendous.
and all sorts.
Yes.
We now have an embarrassing story sent in from one of our listeners.
Love this.
So let's give a little reaction.
And you can think of maybe one of your most embarrassing running stories if you have any that you
I
want
had to try and whittle them down, but yes.
This was a good one, actually. I came through mile 22 in 2 hours and 12 minutes and was on my way to a huge PB. I was feeling great and thought it would be a good idea to down a big beer with 4 miles to go that my mate passed me. My body got drunk and my mind stayed sober. I went from 6-minute mile pace to almost not finishing, and then a 15-minute mile pace from that point on. Dehydration from when the beer set in was about a quarter of a mile later. It's hilarious looking back now at how silly that was.
I mean,
I thought you had written in your own story for a minute there, and I also thought the story was going to go completely the other way, that they were going to speed up with the pain-killing effect of the beer.
Yeah.
Not if you want for such quick marathon time, 2 hours.
They shouldn't have stopped. I feel like it was the stopping more than the beer that caused the problem.
Yeah, I mean, you can get a few sips in as you go past an aid station, but downing a fizzy beer is not what you want.
There's a great race near me, and it takes part on Boxing Day. So imagine how you feel on Boxing Day anyway. You're not feeling your most...
You're carb loaded.
You're most sporting. Yeah, and it's in a place called the Devil's Punch Bowl, which is this huge dip in the ground in Hindhead. And it's called the Boxing Day Beer Run. And it's, I don't know how far it is, maybe, I think it's 5-6 miles. It's a pretty gnarly cross-country run. You go straight down and then you run straight back up. I can't remember how far it is, maybe 300, 400, maybe 500 foot in about 2.5 miles. And there's 2 races. You can just do the straight-up cross-country, which no one does. Or you can do the beer run, where you get down and then halfway coming up, you have to neck a pint and then finish. I've done it. Came third, thank you.
Wow.
It's not a fizzy pint. It's an ale. It's a sort of flat ale, so it's sort of manageable. But it's not. You're feeling pretty bilious by the time you get to the top.
Wow, amazing. Do you have any embarrassing running stories that you want to?
This one is, yeah. I mean, I've had lots of moments where I've been my own worst enemy in races and I've failed because of like either a bad choice or a poor decision or just I'm easily distracted. I was doing Berlin Marathon. I can't remember the date. I've done it a couple of times, and I went out to do Berlin Marathon, and I went to the expo, got the number, I was sitting in a hotel room about 7:30 at night. I thought, I know, I'll do a little flat lay picture for Instagram. Got out all of my kit, laid out, had two left foot shoes. And I was like, uh-oh. And I thought maybe I'll go to the expo and buy another pair of shoes. It was closed. So I was sort of knocking on doors to try and find a pair of shoes. Found some which were about a size too small, but they were a left and a right. So I ran Berlin Marathon in some shoes which were a size too small.
From a stranger?
Yeah, I got like 1 metre over that finish line and took them off and walked barefoot back, and I lost some nails that day.
That is amazing. Imagine if you hadn't done your flat lay.
Well,
Did you notice the shoes, or did someone comment on the photo?
I took them out. I was trying to do and then I thought, oh my God, these are, hang on, they're both the left foot. Oh. Because I had a new pair and an old pair of exactly the same. And I meant to bring the new pair and I just packed in a hurry.
1.5.
Oh God.
Wow, that is fantastic. Well, there we are. Everyone should make sure they lay out their kit the night before so that doesn't happen.
Yeah, when the shops are open.
Absolutely. Okay, well, our last question, probably our silliest one. You're on the start line of the Paris Marathon again. So you're going back to do it again. And you're completely naked.
Yes.
But you can only bring 3 things.
Right.
What are the 3 things you're bringing to run a marathon?
I would bring a sports bra because Paris doesn't need to see that, not because I mind too much. I would probably bring a pair of shorts. And then do I go headphones, watch or drink? I think I'm just going to go headphones. Go for it. Why not? Live your best life.
Hang on, but your headphones, do they have music stored on them?
Yes, okay, let's go with that. Thank you. Good save. Just imagine us as empty.
So you've got your shorts, your sports bra.
Oh, I've got trainers, haven't I? Oh, yeah, sorry. That's why Anya was looking at me like, what?
No, I mean, I was going to say, we can go back to Berlin. You didn't need your 2 left shoes. You could have just gone barefoot.
Yeah, no, you're right. The rudiment. Trainers, no socks, fine. Bra, shorts.
Okay, so no headphones.
No headphones. I'll have to just tough that one out.
Okay. No watch.
No, it's fine. No, I mean, out of those 3 things, I think I'd probably have to go for
pretty safe choices.
Yeah. Sorry, yes, safe choices.
So you could have brought your headphones if you'd worn Anya's speed suit.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Anya's nailed it with the 2 in 1.
You lot are smarter than me. Yeah, okay. I didn't think of that. Yeah, okay.
Well, there we are.
Good
thank
point.
you. Thank you very, very much for telling us about all of these amazing achievements and sharing your story. And we cannot wait to follow along and see what you get up to next.
And where can we get your book?
You can get it from all major booksellers. You can see it on Amazon, or you can download it on Audible. Trails and Tribulations.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you.
Today's podcast is brought to you by Runna. If you want to train for any running goal, please download the app, and don't forget you can use the code Runna Podcast for a 2-week free trial.
If you enjoyed today's episode, please like, share, follow, do all of that nonsense, and we'll be back here next week. And if you want to be featured, send us your embarrassing running story. Either send us a voice note on Instagram or send us an email to podcast@runna.com so that we can have a good laugh at your expense in Runna HQ and share it on one of the next episodes.